You're listening to the world-famous White Roof Radio, Woofcast number 657, recorded July 1st, 2019. Brought to you by CravenSpeed.com, MotoringStripes.com, and OutMotoring.com. Mini performance, speed, and style. It's OutMotoring.com.
Yep.
I'm going to hit the go button, and we're just going to pretend I've already done the intro because we're making a very quick, very tight, very fast show. So we're just going to just jump right into it, and let's just talk about what's new on motoringfall.com. So we have some big stories happening this week. So, for example, do we care that a failed Mini dealership is suing Mini USA?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Todd will love to talk about it.
Well, then let's talk about it. Go.
Yeah. No, I think it's a pretty big deal. They're suing them for basically breach of the dealer contract, the franchisee contract.
They're claiming a breach of the contract. Mini USA is like, listen, you just failed. And I think the biggest problem, well, we can talk about it. Sure.
Yeah, we are on the show, Gabe.
We are. We're
talking about it, yes.
Hello, everybody.
We're here.
The problem really is the fact that Mini USA just made a distinction when it said, hey, if you want to combine dealers, you can only do it if you have a BMW dealer.
Right.
And this dealer group didn't have that. And so, that I mean, you could argue that's unfair to some degree, but
sure.
It
was part of the agreement. It was part of the agreement to begin with, and that's the thing,
right.
is you can't go back after the fact and say this contract that I signed is unfair. But they're trying to stem their losses. It sounds like.
Yeah,
right.
And I mean, you can't fault them for trying. I mean, worst case, what's going to happen? Someone's going to say no.
Well, right. I certainly feel for them. I mean, who I really feel for are the Mini owners in Louisville, and the surrounding area. Who, that's a good sized city, a ton of Minis down there, and they don't have a dealer now. I mean, the closest one they have is Cincinnati.
Yeah,
which is an hour across the river.
But don't they also have a Detroit tuned pretty nearby? I mean, it's 4 hours from Detroit tuned to Louisville?
Ways.
Quite a bit longer than that.
Is it quite a bit longer than that?
I would believe so, yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not that far.
It's an hour and a half flight, and you can't. Here we go. It's a 5-hour drive. Yeah, you're right. That's a little too far.
It's a long drive, but hey, good try.
Yeah, they also have a Way Motorworks. No, they don't have that either, because he's in Georgia. Never mind. I'm trying for you. I'm trying for you, Virginia. Or Kentucky. I'm trying.
It's
a rough move, and I think we're going to see more of them. So we've basically seen 5 Mini dealers close.
Yep.
There were 127. Now we're down to 122.
Yep.
In the U.S. So what is that? 3.9, almost basically 4% of the dealers have closed.
But there's more opening up.
There are new ones still.
There's a new one opening up in Houston, for instance.
Okay.
And I believe there's another one.
Yeah,
but that one's going to be
BMW dealers.
Yeah, but that's going to be
and they've always kind of been there. Is the thing they're moving into a BMW dealer.
No, they read it like it was a brand new one.
Huh.
It was new to that area.
I thought Momentum had been around for a while, but
no, it wasn't Momentum. Momentum has been. They have a new store they're opening up. That dealer group owns in Houston.
Is that okay? Is that Sonic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that's a different one, but nonetheless, I do think that the point I made in that article, which was a good segue, is that I think a lot of people look at the whole idea of Mini dealers now being being able to be connected to a BMW dealer is like it's gonna kind of suck for the brand because it's not really going to be that distinct.
Yeah,
I actually think it's going to allow more people to see those cars.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing either, Gabe. I think it depends on the dealer, and everybody's dealer experience varies, depending on the dealer across the country. A lot of people are like, no, BMW dealers are too stuffy. They're not as, laid back and casual as Mini dealers. And that's not the case where we are here in Kansas City. And I've been to a lot of dealers that had been integrated before. I know that's a case. A lot of people feel like they're not treated as well, and they're,
I would definitely, let those. If I could talk to those people, I would say, tell your Mini dealer, tell your BMW dealer, the general manager that's how you feel.
Absolutely.
Let them know that, because that's the last thing they want you to feel.
Right.
And if they know that, then they will help fix the problem. And I know it sounds like a really simple answer, but honestly, this is a business. They don't want to turn anybody away who wants to buy a car.
Right. Well, and I think that's why we're in the situation we're in now, because I still think, and my theory is that Mini kind of turned their back on the existing community in 2014, and they started going after new customers. They changed the whole philosophy of Mini USA here, the marketing, the idea of the car. It stopped being a fun, quirky, like, hey, we're going to do stupid stuff. And it's like, no, we're grown up. And that's what they really called it. And I think now in retrospect, 5 years later, 5.5 years later, I think they've realized that was a giant mistake. And now there's no going back, because they've lost such a large volume of their existing customer and fan base, if you will.
Well, but this gets back to the debate around has the marketing really moved the needle in sales as much as the complete, like, just the atmosphere of small car market. It's
multifaceted, and by no means, Gabe, you are absolutely correct that it's a multifaceted issue. But I think losing your core, and it's not the only reason they lost their core. And I think the design, a lot of people, and DBU love to beat this drum, and you're right. A lot of people don't like the new Mini, the F56. Yeah. They haven't liked it since 2014. They're like, you know what? It's not as cute as it was. Yeah. And
it's never grown on them. At least, with us, it's kind of grown on. It's like, okay, cool. I'm okay with the F car. Yep. But everybody else, they've never been able to get over it, which is really too bad.
In general marketing, it's interesting because my lady friend here has started her master's degree program a couple months ago, and she's doing a study right now on Mini and on their sales and marketing. And it's just discovered some fascinating information in the process, and we've been having having some good discussions about kind of where it's gone and what it is. And I think part of it, as far as losing kind of the shine on the Penny, is that this whole retro kind of style thing, that it was cool back in 2002 when Mini brought it out, and the Beetle was coming back, and people were into this retro, and Fiat 500 was on the verge, a few years later. Everybody was all about the retro styling and everything. Well, Mini's been out for 17 years now. And this company's about ready to graduate high school. And it's like, it's not trendy and cool anymore. And if you haven't hung on to the people for design aesthetics, and I got to say, your general public, the current Mini, the current crop of Minis, with the exception, I think the Countryman's a pretty good-looking car.
I think the Clubman's good. I think the Clubman's good-looking too.
Yeah, I agree.
But
I agree.
Excuse me as I cough here.
Was that a slip of the cough?
I'm choked up. No, I think in general that in 2002, when Mini came out and redesigned the Cooper and the Cooper S and had it available in 2003, that it had universal kind of appeal and design, appeal to it. Like, more people liked it than didn't. There were a lot of people in 2003 who were like, nope, not for me. And that's great. Yeah. That's great. It's not a problem. But I think now that percentage of the people are like, nope, I don't like the looks of it. Yeah, it still looks like a Mini, but there's so much about this car.
Well, yeah, it's tricky. I hear you. I hear you. I mean, I certainly wish the front overhang was a little smaller. I think we all do. But I mean, when it comes down to it, what Mini's saying, and let's put the optimist hat on for a second here. Number one, the pendulum always swings in small versus large cars, and we all hope it swings back. The other bit is, hey, there's a lot less small cars out there now. I mean, the market has shrunk, and Mini's looking at this and saying, listen, we're going to batten down the hatches. We're going to raise prices and make it and they've raised them, and then we'll get to that in a second.
Yep.
We're going to go for profitability. And that's one of the key things that I learned this week in doing some research and reading, is that profitability actually has increased over the past few years for Mini dealers on average.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there are dealers that are hurting, but profitability has increased. And so what that means to me is Mini said a couple of years ago, listen, we are not chasing volumes. We are going to go after profit. We want to make sure you guys are okay. You put food on your table. And you know what? When the pendulum swings back, we'll be here.
Okay, but the problem with that, Gabe, is I think it's a schizophrenic attitude, because they say that. They're like, they're going to go after profit and realize that, yes, we're a niche company, and we're going to hang on to the niche part of the market here. Yet they make so many changes. They've gone from last to first in the J.D. Power Initial Quality Survey.
A good thing.
With a good thing within 5 years, which is what they intended to do. However, I don't think it's had the resultant effect that they wanted, going, hey, we're number one in J.D. Power Initial Quality. People are going to love, they're going to buy this car because of that. I think there's so many negatives that.
Well, here's the problem with that, Todd. Have you heard them say that?
No, I don't hear them advertising that going.
Yeah, and I don't think they. It's like they had that with Consumer Reports and they couldn't advertise it because that's the rule of the law apparently with Consumer Reports. But why aren't we seeing more stuff about that? Because to me, that is a huge change. And I mean, the change is so huge that it's actually helping to put dealers out of business because they can't service old cars because the cars aren't breaking down.
Right.
It's kind of wild.
Right.
And so, yeah.
It's so multifaceted. There's so many issues here, but back to the whole dealer problem and something that came up from this lawsuit from the Peterson Group in Kentucky in Louisville was the court documents basically said, flat out that roughly half of the mini dealers, like 48% of mini dealers, were not profitable in 2018. So that means almost half of the dealers were losing money last year. And it was down because the previous year in 2017, it was like 54% of the dealers were losing money. Right. So, hey, it's a move in the right direction. As you said, Gabe, it's becoming more, they're becoming more profitable. But the issue is, hey, if half of your stores are losing money, they can't continue to do that forever.
Right, and I think that you can look at the auto industry as a whole and see a lot of that.
That's why Ford stopped building small cars and selling them in the United States.
The Mustang's going to be it. The Mustang's going to be
it. So it's a good conversation, and we'll continue to have it. I'm hopeful, for sure, and I certainly, like I said, I feel for the employees of these dealers who are shutting down or the salespeople who just aren't making their numbers.
Right. Well, and I have here's the positive spin on this, and I did the math on it. Is let's say Mini's projected, and this is the last thing we'll say, and we'll move on to the new sales number or the new pricing. Mini's projected to do about 36,000 cars this year. Okay. And there's 122 dealers. You divide that out. That's 295 cars a year per dealer. This is just straight up averages.
Yeah, just straight math. Yeah.
That's 24 a month per dealer. Okay. It's adequate for many dealers, especially smaller dealers, to survive and be quite profitable on selling 24, 25 cars a month. Now, not every dealer, because the higher priced real estate, dealers in California and Florida and New York, and on the coast, I think, the ones that have higher overhead, sure, they aren't going to survive on that. But this is average. I'm sure those dealers are still doing 40, 50 cars a month. And there's dealers in the Midwest and flyover land who are probably doing 10 to 12.
Sure.
Okay, that's how it works, and that's how the profitability is working out. So Mini's it's still a very viable company. I have hopes, and W is backing it. They have no plans to kill the brand because really sales are up worldwide. And
I think, Todd, it's important for people to listen to you say that because there's a lot of people that are just saying, "Oh, they're going to shut the brand down."
Yeah.
And this is a company. BMW is a company that is conservative both ways. Conservative in terms of how much they spend, but also, really like how much they save and save brands and really like look at the long term. They're conservative because they think about what the long term means. And they're not a company that walks away from a marketplace, especially in the United States, which has been one or two for BMW for the last 30 some years. So they recognize what this is, which is a downturn, which means it does come back.
Yeah. And hopefully they'll hang in there. And I think the other problem, just kind of coattailing that about BMW being conservative, that yes, I think they are. And I think that's the big problem with Mini is because when Mini hit the market in the US in 2002, they were anything but conservative. It was kind of wild ideas.
With the marketing, yeah. I agree.
Stepping outside the box. And then the car has become more reserved and much more conservative about not taking risks anymore. We're not taking risks with colors of the car. We're not taking risks with design.
Yeah, there's no so I think to some degree I would actually argue that they take risks with design as much, if not more so than they did back then if you really look at the cars. But yes, I mean, there are people that like the old car. I get it. But I will totally agree with you. The marketing from Crispin in the first 2 to 3 years was dramatically different than we see now. And that's undeniable. And would that work now? I don't know. But I will say the energy that it created would be great to see now.
Agreed. It would be. And I think more like in the Midwest, Gabe, you may see these ads in Chicago also. But it's kind of funny. The Omaha Travel and Visitors Bureau has a campaign going on right now that is like, Omaha, Nebraska, it's not for everybody. You know, that's their,
well, but that's the problem.
And it's genius. It's genius.
But that's a really good point. The whole sort of notion of what Mini was doing and what Crispin was doing back then, they did it to with a bunch of different clients.
Right.
And so that whole concept has filtered down to like local agencies doing regional spots, and they're brilliant. Right. And now it's like, well, what's Mini do? Because that sort of shtick is done now everywhere. Can Mini do something even different or better, or do they go a different road? And I think that's where they've been stuck. They've been trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I don't think they can afford the kind of thing, because back when CPB did it, in 2002, they took on the campaign probably on a shoestring.
Well, 20 million, I think, was their first budget. Yeah. Annual. Yeah.
And nobody wants to,
which is really small for an automaker.
Right. Yeah. Right. And I think their budget is only like 25 or 30 million now.
It's actually it's not much more now, and it's gone down. And so that's where you wonder, man.
And that's why dealers getting pissed off. They're like, hey, you're not promoting this brand enough.
I know. And then that's where, they I don't know if they have an argument, but I mean, they make their argument. And I look at people at Mini who are doing what they think makes sense. And some of it's good. Some of the stuff is still good.
Right.
But it's, sometimes it's just reach. Well, let's move on, because I do want to talk about a couple other things. Did we talk about the GP last?
That's all we talked. That's all we talked. That's all we talked about last week. Gabe, was the GP.
We can talk about BMW Mini accelerating electric vehicle plans. Let's skip that.
We'll do that. We'll do that one more time. We can do a quick mention that the GP turned a lap. The new GP turned a lap on the Nürburgring of 7.69 minutes. There's video of that somewhere. If I can find it again, I'll link it up in the show notes.
If you do, there's video.
I posted it in general, but I don't. Yeah, I posted it in Slack. It's not like the full run or anything. It's just video of the car.
Pieces, yeah.
It's 25 seconds faster than the previous GP.
Yeah, think about that. 25 seconds faster. It's as fast as the previous generation M5, the Ferrari F430 from 2006, same speed as that. Okay, but yes, there are faster cars out there.
Sure.
The Clio Cup. There's certain sort of like super hardcore front wheel drive spec cars that go faster. Listen, I mean, it's not as hardcore as some of those cars. 756 for a front wheel drive car is pretty fast. I mean, that's really fast.
Right.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think it's something to be proud of. I don't know if I would want it etched in my dash, which is what it seems they have done.
Yeah. No.
But we'll move on.
Yeah. Let's move on before James May starts talking about how bad it is that they do.
Every Honda Type R owner starts laughing. They just start laughing.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I also laugh at the quality of like more or less everything on that car.
Moving on.
It just looks like a prop car from the Fast and the Furious.
Anyway,
let's talk about
the big news.
Let's talk about 2020 pricing.
Drum rolls.
So Gabe's got the buyer's guide and pricing guide up at motoringfollow.com. If you just want to cut to the chase and go to pricing, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to find it all there. And before anybody says anything, I want to point out two things that I thought were most interesting. First of all, the Cooper hardtop, the base model Mini, to get you into the brand on a brand new car is $23,400, which is, adjusted for inflation, roughly the same price as the car was in 2002.
Really? Yes, that's interesting.
Adjusted for inflation, it's that's $17,000 for $2,002. Wow. So I thought that
is real news, DV.
Right, I thought that was huge. I'm going, oh, look at that. They're basically still charging the same amount for the car. They just adjusted for inflation. That was really interesting. And then this we already knew was coming, but it's shocking to see. It's shocking to see a skew missing from the sheet, but no Cooper Clubman. No Cooper Clubman. No. And that just shocks me.
Yeah.
Anyway,
or all four Clubmen. So those are really good points. I'm gonna go right to the big number here. The JCW Clubman, the car. I have to say, I'm a huge Clubman fan. I have a Countryman right now. I've had the JCW Clubman in the past. This is the car that, like, just to be frank, like, this is the car I would buy right here. The JCW Clubman, 301 horsepower. Yes, it has an automatic 8-speed.
Can you?
It is
And the base price is $39,400. Can you get that as just a 2-wheel drive, or is it only going to be all-wheel drive, Gabe, in the JCW?
It's only all-wheel drive. They do not allow that engine to be front-wheel drive unless it's the GP.
Right.
So you are spending $3,500 more.
Right.
For 73 horsepower.
Yeah, is it worth it?
73 horsepower, more a better suspension, way better spec. I mean, way better spec. It's got a ton more standard stuff.
Okay.
73 horsepower, I would think it would be worth it.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that is I've driven the X2 with that engine. It's a dramatic difference.
This is the starting price for that. So basically, if you get a John Cooper Works Clubman all 4, okay, you're probably going to get the iconic trim pack, and that's going to take this car up around $44,000.
Right. Oh, here goes Todd. Todd, this is Todd.
Well, Todd, here's I priced it out. I mean, the stuff they give you free.
Is this live? Is this live on the configurator? This pricing?
No, not for another like 3-4 weeks.
Okay.
So what would they give you? For instance, active driving assistant, which is like the thing I've asked many. Literally, I've told them make it free on every car. Yeah. Your premium brand, they are doing it. Every car, even your $23,000 Cooper DB has it.
Nice.
That is now also on the JCW. So there's so much stuff they're offering for free on these cars that when you actually add it all up, this car, the one I would want, would be almost exactly the same price as the JCW Clubman I had 2 years ago.
Okay.
But with 73 less horsepower.
It's still over $40,000, and that's why I made the list for us earlier in Slack today about everything else. And I was using not even the JCW Clubman. I'm still talking about the hardtop, the JCW hardtop. If you do that with the iconic pack, so basically my car that sits in my garage right now it's gone up $1,500, which is from 19
with a lot more standard features.
Right. But then I went and said, well, if you want to add the things that I've got, which is the iconic pack, I've got the JCW Pro suspension and the JCW Pro, exhaust, the Bluetooth exhaust.
Yep.
Okay, so those are about $2,000 a piece.
Well, so to back up, the iconic pack is, for those listening, is the middle pack. Is that correct?
No, it's the highest.
Is that the upper? It's the highest.
Yep, it's the highest. It's got basically
go big or go home, Gabe. Come on.
Right. Well, so basically, it's going to take the hard top to about 46. What did I say, you guys? No, 44,950. So just a tick under $45,000. And I'm like, the number of cars you can now get legitimately for that price or less. And I started listing them, everything from an Audi TT to a BMW 240 M240i. You can get a BMW 430i.
A Jag F-Pace.
Yeah, 4-cylinder 4 Series is
the new Kia Stinger, Tesla Model 3. The list goes on. You're in a really exclusive group at $40,000.
It's a different type of. But that said, Todd, I didn't see any price. They don't have pricing for the iconic package out, nor do they even talk about it.
No, and I'm guessing. I was just basically speculating for like what the iconic pack is now. I basically priced a Cooper, a JCW with iconic pack, and then added $1,500. That's it.
A JCW with iconic pack and paint is $4,750 in today's money.
So I'm going to say something kind of crazy. They don't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
I almost wonder, because the amount of stuff they've added to these packages, to the signature trim.
Right.
What do you even get in iconic? Or do they even offer it in 2020?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're gonna change that, or if they're gonna shuffle those up. I mean, clearly they're still talking about the signature trim. What would start?
Yeah, right.
Okay, so that's the basic pack. You go with signature. Yeah, what is the other?
It's got a ton of stuff now in it, so that's why I almost wonder if they're gonna make it more,
Well, and here's and I think, Gabe, it brings up a very good point, because when you're shopping around other cars, let's say something like a Kia, for example, or even a Volkswagen. Let's use a Volkswagen GTI. Something maybe it's a little more cross-shopped to a Mini, sure. Everything from to a hardtop. Okay, that car comes standard with all of this stuff. You get standard CarPlay, you get standard Bluetooth, you get a nice stereo.
You don't have to do a config. You don't have to pick a package with these cars anymore. You're just like, you buy this car, and this is all stuff that comes on it.
Right. It comes no extra charge. Right. And Mini, it's like so many of these features in other cars that are standard in other brands. Even many cheaper brands, like a Kia Soul, comes standard with more features than a Mini.
Well, I don't know if it does anymore. when you look at the Cooper, for instance, if you get a Cooper S Classic trim, you're getting a car with, a 4G LTE connection. You're getting a car with, obviously a big display. They all have that. Dual clutch transmission. You're getting a car with, driving assistant standard. You're getting a car with just a ton LED headlights and fog lights. I mean, stuff that is typically not seen in those type of cars. And it's you'll never win. A Mini will never win on all of it, but they do well. They really do well.
And hey, I'm my money's where my mouth is because I've been buying them. I'm on my 8th Mini in the household here, so I'm not making the argument against it necessarily. I'm just saying that for your general consumers coming in, I hear what people are saying, and they're like, you know what? I like as far as it goes, and for past reliability, the current reliability on these cars is so much better for the last 5 years than it's been.
Sure.
But still, people in general look at that. They do some research, and they're like, oh, man, he's got so many recalls and all this. I'm like, well, no, that was 6 years ago. Those cars were built 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago. So you don't have to worry about that. But anyway, people are like, no, I'd rather get a Volkswagen that's got more standard features, or I'd rather a Kia or a Hyundai with way more standard features. And truthfully, Gabe, you're right. When it comes right down to it, and you want to do apples to apples, and you say if these cars are equivalently equipped, Mini is very competitive with all of these. The Countryman is very competitive with, say, a Honda.
Countryman and I would argue the Clubman especially on price.
Right. But the problem is that people in the U.S. don't like the Clubman because it's a station wagon.
Yeah,
and we've always done that. It's you're never going to win that argument there.
Let me just get this punchline, and I like it because it's a station wagon.
Right.
I like it because it's a station wagon.
No, it's true, but I think there's a couple of things in this that I think are worth mentioning as well. The Cooper S, the Countryman PHEV, the hybrid. It has. You'll love this, Todd. It has gone up. The range has gone up. What is it, about 25%, 20%?
Well, it went from 13 to
12
16.
miles.
12 miles
12
to 16.
Miles to 16.
Right. Which is why they're unavailable.
However, more importantly, the potential tax credit is now up $834 for what it's worth.
Yeah. Well,
I think there's a bunch of stuff. It's well worth reading this because there's a ton of little things in this that I think are pretty interesting. All cars get the new exterior mirror caps for improved aerodynamics, for instance.
Yeah.
Dual clutch transmissions are everywhere. Some manuals are gone, as you know. Base prices have gone up, but again, if you look at the amount you're getting stock, it's different. It's not bad. I mean, it's not bad, but I'd have a hard time being upset about it. Even if I was going to try to stretch for a $23,000 Mini, I'd be like, oh man, this is tough. But what a payment of like $35 more, I'm going to get so much more.
You won't regret it. And I'm telling people now that if you're listening to the show and you're even thinking about it, make the stretch like I did back in 2003. I spent $26,000 on my first Cooper S in 2000.
Yeah, I did.
Which was a big stretch, but I never regretted it, not once. And I don't know a single person who did, stretch and get a Mini to get into a Mini, who regretted the decision. At least in the short term.
I remember my company, if I recall correctly, my company shut down. They shut their Chicago office down. I went out and bought a Mini the week after. I was like, I'm still going to do it. I'm going to find a job. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to freelance. And I did, and everything's fine. Now I have Minis.
My biggest problem with all this new pricing and everything and the specs, even like that, are that the least desirable car in the entire Mini lineup now is the JCW hardtop. And I say that because it's still got the paltry 228 horsepower, where you move over to a Clubman or a Countryman and you're at 301 horsepower with, so much and all-wheel drive on top of that. Granted, it's going to cost you, quite a bit more.
Yeah,
but I'm kind of saying put a fork in the hardtop.
I'm kind of with Todd on this one. It is disappointing that they're not offering 300 horsepower in the JCW hardtop. I mean, sure as a GP, agree. But I don't want a GP. I want a regular Mini. Right. That has 300 horsepower like the Clubman and the Countryman do. So I'm with Todd. I'm with you on that one. I thought you were a little ridiculous last week, but you've changed my mind. I'm with you 100%.
Is there any way? Is it petition time?
Yeah, it's petition time. It doesn't make any sense for me either. Logically, on a brand level, how they can call something a JCW, and if you get a JCW, let's say we've got a JCW model in the brand, right? To me, in my brain, that should be JCW. Should be the same across the board. The same drivetrain,
a second and a half slower than the
should be the same
Countryman.
The same drivetrain, the same whatever across the board. That's what that name means to me.
Here's the problem. So here's the problem. I mean, they can't. The GP's got to be special.
Yeah, well,
they're not gonna do that.
Yeah. But is it less special because a Countryman and a Clubman have the same horsepower and all-wheel drive?
The bigger problem is that BMW BMW doesn't have on their radar the next 18 months a manual transmission for that engine. And so I have heard, and I haven't reported on Motor Talk because I cannot confirm it. I have heard there's going to be something that's going to be more power with a manual, and somehow that's going to happen. But like I said, that's something I won't even write on Motor Talk because I've heard it from two people who I don't know.
Right.
But to me, that would be perfect. The perfect thing would be like 200 and frankly, guys, like 250 horsepower. Yeah, maybe like not even like a ton more, a little bit more.
But why is
keep the good drag?
But why is it more in the Clubman and the Countryman then?
All-wheel drive.
All-wheel drive.
I don't care.
Bigger car.
I don't care. That's not my problem. Why is it different?
I don't want to crossover.
I don't want that much power going through my front tires on a normal everyday car.
Yeah, you do.
I just don't.
Gabe, you're high. You are. I think that's it. Well, here's the deal. It's time for an intervention.
But at that point, like, if you're giving me that much power,
so you're saying you don't want a GP? You're saying you think the GP is ridiculous?
Everyday car. No,
you don't want
GP
that.
I want. GP is not an everyday car for me.
All right, hey,
if I want a commuter, guys, listen. I want a commuter,
I've got an
and that price is going to go up, right? We've already talked about this. The price is going to go up.
Yep.
I'm going to walk down the street and buy an M240.
Right.
I don't want. That's not the car I want. The car I want is a Mini, and the Mini doesn't have gobs and gobs of power. Basically like wrenching the wheel out of my hand. That's not a Mini. The Mini is like this cute little fun fast car that's just a blast to drive. That's perfectly balanced. And totally front heavy.
Gabe, let me tell you.
Against the both the Clubman and the Countryman JCW.
I want to make my argument.
Wait, what'd you say?
Let me tell you what the problem is. Gabe.
No, that argument would be for them because they're perfect for what they are. They're all-wheel drive.
Right.
They can use the power. They need the power. I mean, I have a 228 or whatever it is, 31 horsepower JCW Countryman with a manual, and it's just fast enough. It's just quick.
Apple's making an iPhone, the next iPhone. They're going to make it in white, black, and rose gold. Okay? And all of them you can get a 64 gig phone, except for one, the rose gold. You can get it as a 256 gig model. But you can't get 256 gig in the white and the black. So it's exactly the same. It's exactly the same. It is not.
No way.
It is not.
No, because you're think about it. It's a completely different product. The Countryman
it's a completely different
product.
Sure, it's a completely different product.
Hardtop.
But my logic is still the same, and that's how people think. That's how I think. Why do I have to buy something special to get 300 horsepower?
It's a different car.
I don't care.
You're asking the same thing. It's like why would you also ask? I just bought a 2 Series. Why can't I get the 600 horsepower M5 engine in this car?
Yes.
Why can't they put it in there?
Yeah.
Well, because it's not like you're like, oh, here's a 2 Series that's an M240. Well, let's say they make like an and I'm making this up. I'm pulling it out of my ass. They're making an M280. It doesn't yet, right?
Sure.
Let's just say it's something.
It's a joint venture with Nissan
here that has a whole lot more horsepower.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, it's only available over here with this. It's not even the same car. It looks different, and it's only available in Japan.
But it's a different car. Like it would be like the M240 with like an extra set of doors, and it's taller. And
or let's say
it's completely different.
Let's say it's
another 1,000 pounds.
Well, no, let's say it's an X2. Let's say they go. The M240 is limited. It's only going to have 365 or whatever it is, 335 horsepower. But the X2 is going to have 380 horsepower. Okay, it'd be the same kind of conversation there. They came out with an X2M.
So, Gabe, let's just go back the last 18 years where every car has had the same engine. If it was a Cooper, you had the Cooper engine. If it was a Cooper S, you had the Cooper S engine. If it was a JCW, you got the JCW engine. And it's always been the same. So except now they're pulling a GM on us, and they're giving us a JCW GL and a JCW GT.
I mean, part of it is because the power has gone up to a degree.
I understand that the power's gone up, and they don't seem to think that they can put it in the car.
Well, no, I'm saying the
without all-wheel drive.
I'm stopping this argument right here because the engineering's done. They did it for the GP.
Right.
The GP's front-wheel drive, and they're doing it 300 horsepower. It's done.
So
they don't have to spend.
Would you want the JCW? Would you want a JCW with no manual option?
I really, if it had 301 horsepower, I'd be willing to consider it.
Do you think the rest of the Mini crowd would vote for that?
No.
I don't know.
I think that's the decision they had to make.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that because I wish I knew the take rate on JCW hardtops. How many are manual versus how many are?
Oh, it's on waterfowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on. I mean, I could look it up very slowly, but it's on waterfowl.
That's a good argument, but still, I fault their logic.
It's high.
And
but here's the thing.
If they can only put a 260 horsepower motor in the two-door in the hardtop, then that's the same motor that should go in the Clubman and the Countryman. Period. Yeah. Full stop.
And here's the other thing too is that we all have to come to the
it's too confusing.
I think it's not. I think it's about speed, and I think if they could get them to all about the same speed, it'd be wonderful. But the front-wheel drive, hardtop, it's going to be downright impossible.
Well, here's the problem.
To that
sure.
Let me answer your question really quickly. Okay, what did you want to know? You want to know the JCW hardtop two-door?
Yeah, like how many are like percentages
so it's
automatic versus
41% are bought with a manual transmission.
Yeah.
So 40. That's a
pretty high take rate for that.
Really high percentage.
Yeah, that's the highest they have.
Right.
Yeah, that's a pretty high percentage there. But I'm a realist. I've come to grips with the fact that manual transmissions are going away. And
I don't think so. Actually, I've actually come around to this now. I actually think they're not. I think they're going to be there's going to be very few cars that have them, but those cars that have them are going to be like 30% of them sold are going to be manuals.
Right.
Well, I don't know. That was kind of my.
It's still confusing to me that the two-door JCW is going to have a less powerful motor than the JCW Clubman and Countryman. And I understand why, but it's confusing. And I think that if it's going to be a JCW, it should have the JCW powertrain, and the JCW powertrain's always been the same in every car.
And it's diluted,
which made it simple, which kept them out of the range of the Fords and the Subarus and the GMs with the letter and badges and shit across the back of the car.
Because it used to be exclusive to have a JCW and even JCW hardtop. You're like, that's the best performing Mini you can get. Now, forget it. You're like, that's middle of the road.
I'm okay with the JCW on anything they want to put a JCW on. I just want it to match. I want it to be the same.
Right. I'm with DB. It's diluting the brand, the JCW brand.
Screwing things up.
You guys should write an editorial on waterfowl because I would love to see the comments on that.
Well, I'm just saying, just kill it because nobody's going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it.
I would also love to see sales of that car. They don't break it out, but I'd love to know how that changes. I mean, I'm surprised they did not drop in a mildly tuned version of that engine, and I have a suspicion that may happen at some point.
Yeah, well, I've heard it too, Gabe, but I can't confirm it either. And I heard what you now tell me was incorrect, was that about a year after the GP drops, then they'll upgrade the hardtop JCW to the same engine, same specs, bring it up to 300 horsepower, which I could live with knowing that, hey, you got to wait until 2021 for that to happen. I get that, but now I'm told by you and now other people that that's probably not going to happen.
Well, I don't know it's not going to happen. I do know that they are very careful. BMW has always been very careful with their special edition cars and keeping them. And I'm talking about the real special edition, the ones that are mechanically different, keeping them special the entire generation of that car.
Well, I'm just saying.
I would be shocked if a JCW hardtop standard has 301 horsepower. I'd be shocked. I wouldn't be surprised if it had 272.
Here's my message to Minnie and anybody who's listening. You know, Pat McKenna, anybody at Mini USA who still listens to our little dog and pony show here.
By the way, they listen to it, and I've heard from many people. I've heard there's people who are frustrated and and curse us, people who laugh and love it. It's a wild range of emotions, apparently.
I'm glad we keep it interesting. I'm glad we make people's lives interesting. Here's my message: is I'm a faithful JCW owner. I've had nothing but JCWs since 2006. Bought my first GP, bought a second GP. I've had 2016 JCW and now a 2019 JCW hardtop. I have been faithful to this brand. I love JCWs, but I have no interest in buying a JCW Clubman or a Countryman. It just doesn't fit my lifestyle. I think it's a great car, but it doesn't fit me. It doesn't fit what I need.
You're a two-door guy. That's what you do.
I'm a two-door guy.
You're a two-door hardtop guy.
They've lost me. If they, keep the JCW hardtop at 228 horsepower, which is like 73 horsepower less.
Yes.
That you've lost me as a customer. I'm now.
Todd, we all know you're going to buy a GP.
Well, the possibility is there, but I'm saying if I don't, what if I can't get one? Gabe, what if I can't get one?
Yeah.
You will.
I mean, I hear they're exclusive, and hey, people on the internet say that they're all sold out already.
But you're Todd Pearson, and you will get one.
Here's the thing, Gabe. I've read on the internet, and if it's on the internet, it's true that they're all sold out already. The deposits are taken, and they're all sold out.
Then talk to me offline. We'll figure it out.
Todd, the sooner you realize who you are.
Period, though. I get the break-in period.
Oh, jeez.
All right. Anyway,
I will wear very short shorts as you did to mine during the summer. Through the hot states.
You gotta get Axel over here from Germany. So.
There you go.
All right. Well, I think that feels like a show.
That feels like a show. Gabe, thanks for your time as always. Appreciate it. Go back to doing what it is you were doing. And we're done. Don't forget about the fine sponsors here underneath the White Roof Gang. You guys know who they are already, but let's just run through them one more time just in case. We got our friends over at outmotoring.com. Your parts house in the cloud. Anything that you need, want, or anything else for your Mini or your person, you can get over at outmotoring.com. Don't forget, use your email address to sign up. You get points. Plus, you get your discount code every month. Save you 5% on all your orders. Most orders on over $200 are going to ship for free. Plus a full line of car care products for your Aston Martin as well. Click it over. Check it out. Outmotoring.com. Also, we don't want to forget our boys over at Craven Speed. Craven Speed makes the coolest things. 3D printed out of unobtainium. And they don't just make stuff for the Mini. No, you guys know this too because you've been checking them out over at cravenspeed.com. But they're now making stuff for other cars. Mazda Miata and their Gemini phone mount. You can get in a lot of cars. And if you're looking to carry your phone in your car, that is the way to do it. I've played with a bunch of different mounts, and they all suck. There's like one that's really good, but it's also stupid expensive. The Craven Speed Gemini mount, it takes like, I don't know, in most of the cars, I think it only takes about 10 or 15 minutes to install. Super simple. You need a screwdriver. Done. And your phone is there. And it is solid. It's not going anywhere. And that's available over at cravenspeed.com. Along with a bunch of other really cool stuff, especially if you have a Mini. You've got an old R53. Craven Speed's got the pulley you're going to want. You're going to want the short shift kit for your Mini if you don't have it yet either. All good stuff. All available over at Craven Speed. Again, cravenspeed.com. And if you place an order, make sure you leave a comment there. It says thanks for supporting White Roof Radio. We really appreciate that. So do they. Otherwise, we are done for the week, gang. Well, we were actually done on Monday, but I'm doing everything post-haste because of the holiday and all that. If you're a patron, of course, you've already got a Black Roof in the feed. Get up there, go check it out. Otherwise, until next time, gang, this is the part of the show where I like to make that funny clicking sound, and then I say, questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and click back over to whiteroofradio.com. There you can leave us a note in the show notes. You can also email us, feedback@whiteroofradio.com. But until next time, gang, this is DB. I'm done. This is Todd. He's done. And Gabe saying cheers.